I am putting together this video in the early hours of the very last day of the year 2025, and the day after a very controversial politician businessman called Cyrus Jirongo was laid to rest in Kakamega, in perhaps the most controversial funeral we have seen in this country called Kenya in a very long time. And it became very clear to me that the Jirongo funeral gives us a very clear roadmap of what the year we are about to enter, called 2026, will look like. It told me that the year 2025, which we are seeing the sunset of, the year in which legendary politician Raila Amolo Odinga left us, this year ending, was just a launching pad into a much more stormy and chaotic 2026. A fascinating aside here that you may be interested in. Older followers of the Kumekucha brand may already know this. This day, 31st December, is also the day I entered this life, this planet. I was born on this very day. And many decades later, I am still trying to figure out the spiritual meaning of why I was in such a hurry to come into this world. Labor pains on the road between Kakamega and Kisumu. My political lecturer was going on yet another of his many transfers countrywide as a cop. By the way, I still get chills when I go through that road, the Kakamega Kisumu road, in either direction. And so I interrupted a safari to storm into this life. Oh, I wish I knew. Hiyo haraka ilikuwa ya nini? Kama ningejua, ningetulia. Because as our fellow Kenyans keep on reminding us on social media, this earth is hard. Anyway, my birthday wish is to fulfill my purpose, which I'm convinced has to do with a better Kenya. Karibu sana to my show today, and twende kazi. The best summary of what happened in Kakamega yesterday at the funeral of Jirongo, in my opinion, was the headline of Taifa Leo. Jirongo awasha moto. Jirongo lights a fire, because that is exactly what has happened politically. And this fire that Jirongo has lit from that funeral, is going to rage right across Kenya in the year 2026. I have no idea how it will all end. I have no idea what the aftermath of that fire is going to be. But I can tell you, for sure, Kenya is never going to be the same again. Let's go into the details. Jirongo's send-off was dominated by speaker after speaker, proving to us, giving us points, giving us clues, giving us evidence, which tells us beyond any reasonable doubt that Jirongo's alleged road accident was no ordinary road accident, and that the late Jirongo was assassinated. Of that, right now as we speak, there is absolutely no doubt. Because at the beginning, when I did my very first video on this topic, many people responded by telling me, Chris, relax. Hizi conspiracy theories zako. Hey, relax bwana. After all, who was Jirongo? Yeye alikuwa nani? Ndio mtu atake kummaliza. Well, Senator Ostotsi, in his speech at the funeral, told us that he is being threatened by a senior government official. Now think about it. Why threaten somebody if there is nothing? Why? And Ostotsi also told us it's not only him who is being threatened, but others also who are daring to say that this was no ordinary accident and that this passing on of Jirongo must be thoroughly investigated. Yeah, all those people are being threatened. In my opinion, this is a very clear piece of evidence that actually that is a fact. Hiyo ni ukweli mtupu. Before we go very far, please allow me to play a brief audio clip of what the senator said. Okay?
Someone senior in government is threatening George Khaniri. Someone senior in government is telling him, kwani wewe hukujua mambo ya Jirongo? Wachana na hiyo maneno. We are telling George Khaniri, as your son from Vihiga County and a son in this country, we will stand with you, my brother. Because you stood with CJ. Na sisi hapa watu wasikue kwamba whenever we speak tunakuwa threatened. When Halwale talks about gold, anakuwa threatened. When Sifuna says something, anakuwa threatened. Sisi, we are not cowards, my friend. The only legacy we can give Cyrus Jirongo is to protect multi-party. We don't want to see what is happening. We don't want to see what is happening in political parties. That the political parties want to be mutilated so that someone can have a safe ride somewhere. Political parties must be protected in this country, including my own party, ODM. Including my own party, ODM. Simunaona ili inaendelea? Simunaona ili inaendelea? Me, I want to say that sisi, me and Sifuna, we are in ODM to stay, na hakuna mtu atakuja hapo kusema atatuondoa. Wakileta vita, tunawapatia vita. We are not cowards. We have invested in this party as lawyers from 2007 to date. We cannot now that the Baba is not there, we are being told, Nyi ondokeni. It is going to be Kali, my friend. I am saying this because Cyrus Jirongo believed in a strong democracy, in strong political parties. Alafu mtu anaita nyevu. Wacha nikuambia Junet Mohamed, wewe mahali unatoka iko kura kidogo. Sisi tuko na kura mingi kuliko wewe. Asanteni sana na jamii ya Watiriki, musisahau hiyo tochi. Musisahau hiyo tochi. Asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki.
Hakuna mtu ata-invade kwa hiyo shamba ya Ruwai. Hiyo shamba ya Ruwai ni ya Jirongo na ni ya watoto wake. Na isije wakati mtu amekufa ndio watu wanakuja wanasimama hapa. Kuna watu wengi wangesaidia Jirongo hapo nyuma. Mimi na uwezo wangu kidogo, Mungu anajua na watoto wake wanajua. Na mimi nataka nisimama hapa niseme, ndugu zangu wakina Amayo, tumekubaliana. Baada ya hii mashishi, hii mayama yote itatolewa na kila kitu itatolewa hapa. Hawa watoto wamewachwa nyuma na ako na watoto wazuri zaidi ya watoto 20. Tushikane mkono, tuangalie mali ya Jirongo yenye ndaka ikutanishwe na ile gani iko na gani, tufanye je tutafanya, tuhakikishe hawa watoto waishi maisha mazuri. Na hiyo ndio kitu ya maana. Isije tunaongea tu hapa tukuja hapa unajua alafu baadaye Na wacha niwaambie, hii dunia ndio mimi naambianga nyinyi Mwenyezi Mungu kurudi ni ngumu. Kwa sababu hata wamekaa hapa wengi ni watapeli. Wakora ni wengi. Lakini mimi nataka niseme tutasaidia familia ya Jirongo kwa sababu mimi najua Jirongo alikuwa nani. Mwenyezi Mungu awabariki sana.
Meanwhile, new clues and new pieces of evidence have emerged. I think the most compelling one is that it is now very clear that Jirongo's Mercedes-Benz, as it was driven through that filling station, had an occupant on the passenger seat. Okay? Now, this is significant because when Jirongo was found on the crash site, he was found alone. There was nobody else in the vehicle. And super fascinating, and this has been disturbing me right from the beginning, the door on the passenger side is open. And from the little physics I know, I didn't do very well in physics in school, but from the little physics I know, that door is not supposed to be opened by head-on collision. It is not. By the way, I have deliberately avoided talking about the airbag. Many people have said, why didn't the airbags deploy? And the reason for that is that I had spoken to an expert on the Mercedes vehicle, the Mercedes brand, and they had told me that those airbags can still deploy when the engine is off and the vehicle is stationary. That piece of information convinced me that airbags cannot tell us much. However, I made a mistake because this expert forgot to tell me, and I forgot to ask one very important question that now forces me to bring the airbags clue, piece of evidence, into the picture. And it is the following crucial piece of information. The deployment of the airbag in the Mercedes also depends on the weight on the seats. Let me put that in another way. If there is nobody in the vehicle, that is, the sensors are not activated by any weight on the seats, the airbags in the Mercedes will never deploy. Now, now, think about it. What this actually does is to confirm the findings of the forensic examination of the vehicle by friends of Jirongo shortly after the accident, which told us that there were multiple crashes against the vehicle. Multiple, not one. And the initial one was on the side, on the driver's side, aimed and targeted exactly at where the driver sits. And now we can conclude that when this was happening, there was no weight on any of the seats in the Mercedes. I'm sure you get it. And after the vehicle was hit so many times with no weight on the seats and therefore no airbag deployed, when the final head-on collision, the vehicle was set up on the road on the wrong side, and the climax bus kept on accelerating, even when the headlights showed it very clearly that there's an obstacle ahead of it. It kept on accelerating. Hey! And by the way, that is not speculation. There is clear evidence of that in the public domain, even on that CCTV footage. Because simple logic tells us that when you see an obstacle in front of you and you're driving at night and it is a white Mercedes-Benz and your headlights are on, what do? You immediately start slowing down. This bus did the opposite. It accelerated for maximum impact. And therefore, even with weight on one of the seats for this final impact, we can understand why the airbags still did not deploy. Game shot. End of story. Case decided and closed. Please let's agree on that. And even if you want to disagree, please give me your evidence. Don't tell me, no, Chris, you're wrong. These are conspiracy theories. No. Give me details. Chris, you're wrong because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. But let us dive into the politics. I believe the very clear sign from Jirongo's send-off that tells us very clearly what the situation is politically, especially in Western Kenya, was what happened when a man called Musalia Mudavadi started his speech, started reading President Ruto's speech to the mourners. You know what they did? They walked away en masse. Now, we need to understand this about Kenyan voters. Kenyan voters sometimes will be very upset with you. They are sure they're not going to vote for you, but they will sit and listen to you, yeah, with that expression on their face. Sasa huyu anasema nini? But when those same voters choose to stand up and walk out, hey, my friend, you're in trouble. The message there is very clear. They can't stand you. Period. And you know the Luyas are very unique people. There is no other community in Kenya that even comes close to the Luhya. The Luhya are very accommodating. They are very persevering. They love their ugali. In fact, I was joking with a friend. If you want to cause chaos in Kenya, it is very simple. Just cut the supply of ugali to the Luhyas, even for 1 week. My friend, utajua ujui. Ish. The Luhya community is the only community in the country called Kenya that has voted for every single presidential candidate from every corner of the republic. In other words, in my opinion, this is the community that is less tribal than any other within our borders. My opinion. You're free to have yours. And this is important. Why? Because right there is hidden one of the clues behind the mystery of why Luhya Bulembe Nation unity has been so elusive through the years. But something happened in Kakamega yesterday. The departed Cyrus Jirongo finally united the Bulembe Nation. Going forward, they will all speak with one voice. And this sleeping giant is going to have a major, extremely major impact on the next general elections. Mark my words. And now let me say something very controversial, which I feel in my bones. I see a successful Luhya presidential candidate in State House very, very shortly. I know that is controversial, like many things I say on this channel, which somehow come to pass. Yeah, that same feeling in my bones that I've had to say those crazy things in the past that came to pass is the same one I've had just now, as I've said that, even when I don't believe myself, but I've said it. Let's watch. And remember, I am a full-time political analyst, and therefore I'm very, very, very much aware of the fact that there is no Luhya serious presidential candidate anywhere in the horizon. Ayuko? But I believe very shortly, maybe not the immediate next president, because I believe that president will be an interim president, not that one. But the president who will change Kenya will be a David. They will come from nowhere. And now I'm persuaded that person will be a Luhya, Bulembe Nation. Kamakoa, Olimulai, that one. And you can be sure we will not have a Luhya PS in virtually every docket of government. That will not happen. And by the way, David currently is not known. He may not even be aware of his destiny and what the Most High has planned. Okay, because when the Most High chooses, kwisha maneno kabisa, it is final. David, my friends, is coming. And for your information, I'm just giving you information, I may not be very sure that I belong to the Kamba community. However, I am very, very, very sure that I have Luhya blood flowing through my veins. Legends will understand. Allow me to leave it there. Eish. Unajua hii kitu inaitwa biology. Ni ngumu. Many people failed biology. Okay? Not me. I scraped through. But many failed biology. Anyway, 2026 clearly is going to be a very, very stormy year. And we have witnessed the trigger, the final trigger to make 2026 completely unmanageable for this blundering Ruto regime. You know, at certain levels of governance and politics, you cannot make decisions emotionally. You cannot afford to. You cannot afford to make decisions without a giraffe view. You cannot afford to. You cannot make decisions on a whim. These are lessons that we students of politics have learned very, very clearly in the year 2025, and especially with the passing on of Cyrus Jirongo. Because you make a decision, this somebody is a nobody in politics. Get rid of them. After all, they're interfering with 1, 2, 3. And you don't have a giraffe vision. And you don't sit down and try to think this thing through. You just make the decision. After all, you have the power. And you give the job to amateurs. Hii kitu ni rahisi, kwani iko nini? And then, the aftermath. The aftermath finishes you. That's really what it is. I want to take this opportunity to wish all of you a very happy and prosperous 2026. You have many advantages. You know what is coming, and therefore you're going to prepare. And therefore there is nothing to stop 2026 being a very happy and prosperous year for you. Prosperous also because people prosper when they know what is coming, and others don't, and they take full advantage of the situation, and they grab the opportunities that are there in chaos, and they prosper beyond their wildest dreams. Happy New Year, my friends. And I just want to remind you, we are on the very last day of gifting yours truly. Indeed, a special day for yours truly. You can see details on your screens right now. Please rush and take advantage of this last few hours of the year 2025. Asanteni sana. I love you all so much. Thank you for your support. Oh, thank you so much. May the Most High bless you abundantly, even though still on the way, last minute. Until next time, this is Chris Karaoke Kumekucha.